I'm Woytowitz, and this is my video on how to find the derivative of a point on a calculator. We're going to start with how to find the derivative of a point on a TI-84. So on a TI-84, the first thing you're going to do is press the alpha button, and then press the F2 button, which is also known as the window button, and then you're going to press the number 3. And once you do that, that'll bring up something that looks like this, but these will all be empty. Then what you can do is you can plug in x right here, because we want to find the derivative with respect to x, and that will automatically plug in x over here. Then what goes in here is going to be your function, your f of x, your y value. And so once you plug in your function, the last thing you're going to do is you're going to plug in what you want x to go towards. So say this was the derivative when x equals 0. Then we put in 0 there, and then we're going to hit enter, and it's going to give us the derivative of this function when x equals 0. The y value is irrelevant because we're working with a derivative. Now here's an example problem using the TI-84. So we want to find the derivative of f of x equals 2x squared plus 4x plus 2 at the point 1, 8. So obviously the first thing we're going to do is alpha f2 3, and then that's going to give us this input. And so now we can plug in x because our variable is x. So the derivative with respect to x of 2x squared plus 4x plus 2, that's the function, and then when x equals 1, because we want to find it at this x value. And so once you put that in and you hit enter, it's going to give you a derivative of 8, which is the correct answer. Now we're going to find the derivative of a point on the TI-89. So this one seems to be a lot easier to use, because all you have to do is go to your home screen, press the F3 button, which will be labeled Calc on your screen, and then you press 1, and it's going to give you a D and then parentheses, and it's finding the derivative of the function in the parentheses. And there's a special way you have to input it that I'm going to show you. Here is an example problem using the TI-89. So we have the function 3x cubed plus 6x plus 9 equals f of x, and we want to find the derivative of this at the point -2, -25. So obviously we're going to do home f3 1, and that gives us this d with the blank parentheses. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug in 3x cubed plus 6x plus 9 into the parentheses, then put a comma, and then put x, because we want to find the derivative with respect to x. You have to plug in your function this way, otherwise it won't give you the right answer. Then you hit enter, and you get 9x squared plus 6. Then all you have to do is plug in -2 for x, and you get an answer of 42, which is correct. Say you wanted to find the second or third derivative, or even the -100th derivative, all you're going to do is after this x, put another comma, and then put that number derivative. So I would put x comma -100, and that would give me my answer. Now we're going to find the derivative at a point using the TI-Nspire. This one's very easy to use because it's pretty much built to give you the derivative at a point. First thing you're going to do is hit menu, and then hit 4, which will be the drop-down box for calculus. Then you'll have a bunch of options. Number 1 will be derivative, number 2 will be derivative at a point. And so you have options there, but we want to find derivative at a point. So you hit number 2, and then it brings up a menu that looks like this. It's going to ask you for your variable, your value, and which derivative you want. So the variable is going to be x pretty much all the time. The value will be whatever you want x to equal for the derivative. So the derivative when x equals 0, I'd plug in 0 right there. And then there's going to be a little drop-down box for which derivative you want. Do you want the first derivative, second derivative? It's up to you. And then, once you do that and you hit enter, it's going to give you the setup you get when you use the TI-84, but with a couple of things already filled out for you. Now here's an example problem of finding the derivative at a point using the TI-Nspire. So we have the function x squared plus 9x plus 4, and we want to find it at the point 0, 4. We go menu, 4, 2, and then we get a little drop-down menu. We want x as the variable, we want 0 as the value of x because it's when x equals 0, and then the derivative is the first derivative. Once you plug those in, you're going to hit enter, and you get something similar to what you get in the TI-84. you'll have d over dx, a blank in the parentheses, and then when x equals 0. So all you have to do is plug in your f of x, your x squared plus 9x plus 4, when x equals 0, and then you just hit enter, and it should give you a value of 9, which is the correct answer. So sometimes you have to find the derivative by estimating using a graph. All graphing calculators you can graph on because they're called graphing calculators. And for example, the TI-89, the function to get to your graphs is diamond f1. And so then for y1, you're going to plug in x squared minus 4, that's the example function that I'm using, and then you hit enter. And then it'll bring up your graph. And so we want to find or estimate the derivative when x equals 2. So we can see right here is x equals 2, it's the point 2, 0, and so we want to draw an estimated tangent line using that point. So it's going to be about like that. And so we have the point 2, 0 on the tangent line, and we have about like 3, 2 on that tangent line as well. So those are the points, 2, 0, 3, 2. And we can find the slope of the line using those 2 points. So 2 minus 0 over 3 minus 2 is equal to 2 over 1. So the slope is approximately 2, which means that the derivative is approximately 2. That's our estimate using the graph. Here are some common mistakes that people make while finding the derivative at a point using graphing calculators. There's 3 main ones. The first one is when people don't put the comma x inside of their function. So on the TI-89, if I just put d of my function, it's not gonna be able to give me an answer. I have to put the comma x at the end for it to give me an answer. I personally make that mistake all the time, and it's really annoying to do that. So just remember to put the comma x. The second mistake is when people put in their function wrong into the calculator, and then of course they're going to get a wrong answer because they're putting in a different function than what the problem is asking for. For example, if instead of 2x squared you do 2x squared, then you're going to get a different answer. The third mistake, and one of the biggest ones, is when people say, oh, look, I'm solving for y here because it's y equals x squared plus 9x plus 4, and so then they take y as their variable. So d of x squared plus 9x plus 4, comma y instead of comma x. We want to find the derivative with respect to x, even though it is y equals this function. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something on how to find the derivative at a point using a graphing calculator. And Mr. Farrar, if you're watching this back from my letter of recommendation, please assume that I was a good student.